welcome back to Journalist Talk. Today, here with me, I have Jennifer Castle. She's the owner, creator of Jen Castle Media. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
And today, I'm gonna hear a little bit from you, a brief biography about yourself. It's something that I do with every guest to my listeners to get to know you a little bit better.
No problem. I wear a couple of hats. I graduated from UCLA with a BA. Went after photography. I've been doing photography for about 20 years now. At one point, decided I wanted to change that a little bit, go more into the journalism aspect of things. So I came to CSUN. Was here for 2 years. Created my thesis and research from that, graduated with my MA in 2021 and during the pandemic, and here I am. I also write content for UN Women USA LA, and I work with the Jen Castle Media side of things. Is I work with businesses, individuals to craft their content, their media, their visual media that they're going to use. For social media, marketing, PR, things like that. And I teach at Moorpark College now.
Yeah, I was checking your website and there's definitely a lot of hats
for
us to talk to. And tell me a little more about your teaching job, because that's something that I also want to do, maybe like in the future. It's not like my focus, but you know, I feel like it's good to be in this academic road. I really like it.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so let me just start there. It's funny because I said the same thing. I graduated in 2021, so it was always in the back of my mind that I will teach in the future for sure. I said it just as you did. I'm very much interested in that, but I'm going to charge forward in a couple other avenues first before I go into teaching. And teaching found me immediately, and I got to this point. Well, the pandemic helped me get to this point. I got to this point in my life where I thought, okay, I'm just going to, any open door that comes my way, I'm going to try it on for size and see how it goes. I'm not going to say no to anything right now because everything's so up in the air and strange. And teaching came my way immediately. I was referred by another professor, and I leaned into it, and I'm getting more classes this summer and for next semester as well. So I seem to be going in that direction sooner and stronger than I thought I would, but I really enjoy it. I love it. I love my students. And I have a very hands-on approach that I missed when I went to school. I wanted more of when I went to school, especially for creative mediums, things like that.
Yeah, especially since you did most of your master's online.
Yeah, well, that's a funny story too, because I originally was going to go with the photography and videography for my project. And then the pandemic happened, and I had to sort of recraft and go back to the drawing board and figure that out. And it ended up being a podcast. I didn't take any classes on podcasting, so that made it a bit challenging. But I love the medium so much. I just leapt into it and kind of taught myself. And a lot of the skills from videography, I feel, come into play, especially with the audio. I mean, audio is key for video, right? So it's key when you're doing a podcast, obviously, as well. So I had those skills to rely on as well from CSUN.
Yeah, that's really amazing. But before we go into that, that's what I want to talk to you, because it's a very nice project. Literally 2 professors were talking about you. That's how I met you. But
thank you.
In your teaching job, what classes do you teach your students, and how hands-on do you make them?
So primarily I teach social media, PR, and then digital media storytelling. My first class there that I was assigned was digital media storytelling, and I started off very hands-on there because I basically push the students to find their own beat. It's broad. I want them to find kind of their chapter that they want to, kind of like you would with a thesis, and then from there they craft their own story within that. And they go through the entire semester, they go through their own projects. So they start off writing an opinion piece, then they go into photography. They then create a podcast, which can also be filmed. So then that leans into their video project, which is their final project. So it's very hands-on. They're constantly working. They're constantly creating. And they're creating a portfolio that they can use for the professional world. So that's why I feel it's really important to be hands-on. If they are creating it themselves and researching it themselves, and I'm there to guide them, then they have something that they can use for the future when they do end up going into the business world and trying to figure out what being a journalist is in the real world, which is a lot of networking, number one, and then having that portfolio.
Yeah, that's true. Something that I do since day one that I moved here to the US is try to do network with everyone that I know that I met in a class, that went as a guest speaker in some club and everything, because I see that in here at least, if you have networking with like tons of people, you're gonna find a direction, you're gonna find a job, you're gonna find someone to support, something temporary. And I think that that's beautiful, because where I come from, it's not like that. It's like, I got the job, you didn't, boo-hoo for you. And here I feel like so much more like a family.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where like your teaching comes in, like mentor young minds, young kids that are going to like be working in the field also soon. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and I embraced that full on when I was here. The teachers that I met up with, the professors that helped me, they were also hands-on. And so, I mean, you have to be with a thesis, right? And so the encouragement and the dedication, that would be my strongest advice to anybody who's going to school for anything really, but especially for journalism, is just lean into the knowledge that your professors can give you and the network. They're there to help you. They're there to embrace your future work. It only looks kindly on them as well. So that would be a huge key, I would say.
Yeah. And your master's, that's a very huge topic that I want to talk.
Okay.
I really like it. That's what I'm focusing on a little more in this episode, because you did it all during the pandemic. And we know that like journalists work in the pandemic, we did like the impossible become like something so easy nowadays.
Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, and can you tell me a little more? How did you get into the topic? How did you plan it? Like, give us a in-depth
sure
lead review of your project.
Page one. No, thesis. I mean, it's a journey. We all know it's a journey. It started off actually with Latin America and researching femicide there and the gender-based violence that was going on there. And primarily, I was focused on Guatemala primarily, and then the femicide that was directly connected to their civil war. And then as I started working that out, and your professors are always telling you, be more specific, be more specific. I mean, that's the number one note. I had to keep breaking it down, and as I did, I realized it was going to be impossible to cover this being so far away and not speaking Spanish. So and then in the research, I realized we have a similar situation here in America, and we're not talking about it as much. It's very much silenced. So then I started asking myself, why am I not covering where I live? So then I really I put my all into that. And then over the course of time, it got more and more specific. And then the pandemic happened.
Oh, the pandemic.
I remember one professor in particular who was on my committee, and she said, you need to be more specific. The pandemic happened. And I said, is this more specific? We're dealing with gender-based violence now, and domestic violence and femicide during times of crises, and now a pandemic. So then I really which it was challenging because there's only so much research you can do in the now, and the data hasn't come in yet. And especially when a society is so silenced about the epidemic in the first place, it's really hard to even later pull all of the correct data. So it's a process. It's something which is why I've wrapped the theory that I wrapped around it was communications infrastructure, which is building community, building up resources, and managing crisis before the crisis occurs. So it's better managed, it's more communicative, and it motivates civic action. Yeah. So that was those are the details.
Yeah, and how did you find your interviewees? If I'm not mistaken, it was 4 women, right?
It was 3 women and 1 man. Yeah. This is another tip I'd give to anybody out there, in that I know when we're in classes and we're doing this research, we get a little buried and we start second guessing ourselves. I found I made 1 phone call. Well, I first sent her an email, and that was to Eve Sheedy, and that was for the Department of Public Health. She immediately responded and was so gracious and kind and willing to give me any information I needed, because this is a cause that she passionately works on. She works in domestic violence because it was declared a public health problem. I can't remember the year. I think it was 2018. Ooh, don't quote me on that. You can cut that out.
She's not being quoted. It's just like for filling up the time.
I can't remember the year, but it was for Los Angeles. That was a public health issue. So she immediately responded, and she was very generous with information, and she often said to me, it's through you, it's the younger generation, and it's through you that we can now have our voice and have our work continue. So my point is, my tip would be, don't shy away from reaching out. You wouldn't believe how, if you're passionate about it and you've chosen a beat or an area to go into and to research further, that passion reads to other people, and they want to collaborate. They want to, because they can't do it themselves. So they want to speak to you. You just need to reach out.
Yeah. And this, of course, feels a very gender-centered project. Where did the man that you interviewed come in this situation?
Mark came in because I went to Eve, actually, and I said, can you provide any other sources that I could go to? And specifically, are there any male voices that are doing this work? Because I wanted it to be a balanced project. I started out, I was only going to interview 2 people, and then and this is what I mean. So it started with Eve, and I started speaking to her, and then it was just a domino effect. And I was able to, through Eve, to find 2 other sources, and then through that person, I was able to find 2 other sources. And then, so I had 3 individuals. They were all women. I went back to Eve, and I said, I would really like a male voice. Do you know anyone that's doing work on this? And she said, yeah, I actually know a few people. She gave me a couple names. One of them in particular, Mark, was he's pushing for policy. He's pushing for policy. He works with males who are incarcerated, going through the jail system. There's a whole, he's working on that, and domestic violence, gender-based violence is all a part of it. And he's trying to find policy that will allow more mental health for people to work with others to rehabilitate them rather than just throw them behind bars, that sort of thing. So I felt like he was a really strong voice to have in the project. And again, I reached out to him, and he immediately responded. So.
Yeah. I feel like it's important to give like this dual side of the story, because there is so much people backing up women in the situations and trying to make men, or whoever the aggressor is, search for help. in search to a inside understanding of why they did what they did is wrong, etc. So I think that it brings a lot of balance to your project,
Thank
and
you.
maybe that's why I made it so good, because it would be so easy to just go to women and talk bad about like literally every single man.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I chose communications infrastructure for the theory to kind of bind it, because it's community resources and it's community communications, right? And that's not just one-sided, that's just not one gender. There is a problem, and it starts with trauma, and it starts with mental health, and it starts in a lot of places, and it continues to circulate, but it needs to be addressed from all angles in order to figure out how are we going to manage this problem, and how are we going to not I don't know that it'll ever be solved, but how are we going to move forward and make it better.
I mean, that's what a journalist gotta do, right? Show everything, go after every fact, and lay down to everyone to even understand and learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I believe that as well.
That's good. It's approved. And right now, I would like to talk about Gen Castle Media as well, because you say they get small businesses and you help them find their identity and etc. It's your masters, the website building that you did, getting the interviews, going after the one question, the one person. Does that help with the Gen Castle Media work?
I do think that marketing today is taking on a more journalistic style in that way that you've just described. It's important. Well, authenticity is key now, and in all PR reports and trends, we're seeing that is continuing. People, yay! First of all, good. That people want authentic voices. They want trust, and that's across the board with companies, with politicians. I don't know that we'll ever get there fully with politicians, but that seems to be the drive and the need. So yes, when I'm working with these companies or individuals on their own PR or their marketing and creating their content, it starts with storytelling. It starts with, who are you? Let's answer all of the questions. What is the meaning behind what you're representing, what your brand is, what's your story, what's your beat, and how can we best represent that and allow your audience to engage with that? Because it's all about engagement at the end of the day. And you want to do that as authentically as possible.
And which one would you tell me that was the hardest project that you've ever worked?
In Gen Castle Media, like yes. Across the board with... Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think any of them were challenging per se. But definitely those clients, I would say that the ones that are most challenging are the ones that haven't done that work in meaning and who they are. And that's usually why they come across my table, my media table, is because they're still sussing it out. So I would say those, I'm going to be vague about it a little bit, a little broad. I don't want to call anyone out, but I would say the clients that come across that really haven't done anything on story, who they are, why they're doing what they're doing, who are sort of still confused about who their audience is. Those become more challenging, and they have a little bit of homework to do before we actually start doing the creative projects for them.
Yeah. I feel like I understand those clients because I love storytelling. I have a podcast dedicated to people to tell their stories, and I think that that's beautiful. But when it comes to me to put on my LinkedIn, put 50 words describing yourself, and I'm like, okay, how can I describe myself? Mm-hmm. And I feel like from an inside point of view, it's so subjective. Like, it's more than it should be, and that causes people to second guess themselves maybe. And what would be like kind of your advice to people that second guesses like creating a website, even if it's not like professional, just like a portfolio one or like their LinkedIn. How do people, maybe journalists too, find their own selves to put it in the media?
Yeah, now we're talking to my class.
That's
This is exactly what I review in the class. Well, my PR and social media class for sure. Uh, it's easier than you think. It's so much easier than you think. And I feel like a lot of the time we get in our own way. And you just got, my biggest tip would be just start slow and just put one foot in front of the other. My tech tip would be just start with a website. Start with a free website. There's so many templates and things out there. And then just stare. You don't have to purchase a URL or anything like that. Just start with a free basic template and stare at it for a minute. And then, maybe just do some, what do they call that when unconscious writing, when you just write for a half hour and just see what comes out. Just explore and mainly make it about, what am I going after? What do I want? No one's going to see it. You can do it in a notebook if you want to do it the old-fashioned way. And then so just start slow and then start filling in the gaps. And it starts with a website. Your nucleus is your website, right? And then from there, all the marketing comes into that, and that's how you can broadcast your story. Or your beat. If you're a journalist, you start with, what's your beat? And then you put that on your website. You could even start with something like LinkedIn, and there's ways you can manipulate LinkedIn so that you have all of your portfolios, I know you go to LinkedIn a lot, right?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
To investigate and see the backstory on individuals. But that's exactly right. A lot of people do. So it's a great way to post your portfolios, your experience, reviews with people you've worked with. That's a great place to start, and it's simple and it's easy. And then you can go from there and then do a website, link it to your LinkedIn, that sort of thing. But start slow.
In case no listeners took notes, I'm going to be re-listening to this episode and taking so many notes because I have a Substack. But I don't know how to work that on my favor, since it's very direct in whatever you're showing. If you go to the person's dashboard, they have like every post of the person right there. So, yeah, I'm going to take notes, get my old-fashioned notebook, because if you can see, I'm a very notebook person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, me too.
Everything
they say it's good for the mind to write it down, so.
Yeah. If it's not written for me, it's never, like, on my agenda, on whatever. I need to have, like, written down everything.
I'm similar. I have both.
Yeah.
Let me ask you though, do you have a subscription to your Substack? Have you decided to monetize it yet, or are you gonna?
I don't know how to do that.
You should look into that, because Substack's really good for that.
Okay, so I didn't know if Substack was really good or not, because it also started with one class with a lot of tiny little projects, and I was like, this is already like halfway there with like a website portfolio, so why not? And then I kept posting everything in there, but I have one specifically for this podcast, as everybody knows, because I always say in the end of the episode.
That's good.
Yeah, and your photography. Let's just like go towards the end of our conversation.
Next time.
we gotta talk about photography too, because it's so nice to have people with like a lot of heads to talk in a conversation, like yourself. So, photography, wow.
Were you able to see some of the photography? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing it for years. I love it. I've always loved telling people's stories. I've always loved shooting portraits, and I did events in the beginning as well. But I always went after the events and more with a journalistic eye. That's so cliche now. You see it on everyone's photo portfolio, but I did, and I started when it was still film. I just aged myself, but and I started in the darkroom. But I've always loved it. I've always embraced it, and through all my travels, out of college, I lived in London for a year, and I traveled, and my camera was right there by my side, and that's kind of when I fell in love with that medium, So I always thought that was going to be it for the rest, but pushed more when I came to CSUN. Part of that decision was I want to learn other mediums. I want to embrace other mediums because everything had gone so digital. Everything was online, and I wanted to advance my skills in that way. So
yeah, unfortunately, sometimes I feel like photographies and photographers more going to like photojournalists. It's kind of taken for granted if you're not in the field, if you're not a journalist too, because sometimes people don't get a photography through this journalistic eye. So I feel sad sometimes because everything is like, let me take a selfie here and there, and that's just what it is now.
yeah, we are losing it a little bit, but we are and we aren't. I find my students anyway are very hungry and ready to learn the skills, which I'm thankful for. They're still out there. I think we still can all go into a gallery or look at a photo, especially in journalism. I mean, we don't get newspapers anymore, but when we go on and we see certain, what? I don't remember his name. You should interview him. Carlos? I can't remember his full name, but he won a Pulitzer.
He came to CSUN already to talk. Yeah, I think
his work's amazing.
I think it was Blumenkrantz that was gonna get like.
Yes, he got 2 of them from CSUN to come back and speak.
Yes.
And I couldn't make that, unfortunately. I think I had COVID at the time because I was talking to Blumenkrantz. Yeah, good times. But their work is amazing. So it still exists, and I think we appreciate it that much more when we do see it. And it's interesting that the competition is fierce for photography, but yes, it's not in the way that we used to know the medium. It's much quicker. Yeah. It's much more immediate. But there are individuals out there who still want to grab onto the skills. So yeah, I'm grateful for that.
I feel like I'm 50-50 on that matter because for a long while I was doubting myself so hard in photography. And then I had to take Blumenkrantz class so I could graduate. But I didn't want to take it like for nothing in this road. Even in the first week I was like, I'm not that much of a photographer. Like, I'm not going to like this class, but I'm going to be here because you're a nice person. And then by the end of the classes, I was in love with photography again, wanted to take portraits of every single person that I knew, and like...
Just takes one good professor.
It just takes one good professor and like an assignment to make with 20 different people, and there you go.
And now you have that skill in your belt. Now you can have the assortment of hats as well.
Yeah. Well, that's something that I want to take a little forward, but I never know how to bring like much to journalism because I'm the person that like if I see a tree that I think that it's pretty, I'm going to make that tree like my portrait subject. But you know, it's something that I'm still practicing, and looking at your photos I was like, damn, she's good.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Well, any advice that you would want to give to people who don't know what they want to do, if they want to do photography, website, podcasting, and teaching, and being a journalist and everything, because I feel like those tiny little advices at the end of my episodes, it helps so much people. So I would like to hear from you.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would say, it's okay to dabble. No, seriously, embrace the dabbling. Look, I came into CSUN and I wanted to increase the skills in all mediums because I very much liked the look of an MMJ. And I feel like journalism is going more in that direction. You need to know how to wear all the hats. You also have to have the network with all the people. There's so many different facets of journalism now that you have to take on. And at the same time, it's suffering. So it's like you really have to embrace all of the skills. And why not try it on for size? Why not? And this is why it was my motto towards the end of the pandemic. I was just like, open door, I'm going to try it on and see what happens. You never know. So I would say embrace it all. And look, I didn't embrace it all per se because I didn't take a podcast class. I didn't have time. It didn't fit into my schedule at CSUN. but I still learned the skills. Like, alongside the thesis and the classes, I was online and I was talking to my network and I was figuring it out because I wanted that skill, because I had a last minute decision of changing from videography to podcasting for my thesis. So you can do it. You just got it. You have to work hard.
There you go. You guys listen from her, so
you have to work hard. I don't know if that's news.
Well, or if it's not, it's always learning, and it's always good to hear again from various different people.
And you can do more than you ever think you can. You can always push it further.
I'm gonna take this for myself too.
I mean, seriously, you can.
Yeah. Thank you, Jen, for coming to the podcast. We're very happy to have you here today. And for all of you guys listening to the podcast, I'll see you guys in the next episode. So everyone, this was our episode, and I'm really glad that you guys are here and enjoying it. So be ready to enjoy this new season. I am bringing more stuff besides the interviews for you guys related to journalism, so I hope you all enjoy that. And meanwhile, while I have you here, I have some news too. I decided to start our Facebook page, and it's Journalist Talk. So if you find it there, just click it and follow and like and interact with me with the posts and all. And I also have a website. It's podpage.com/journalist-talk. And my Instagram is at Beatriz Barros Felice News. So all of that I'm going to put in the show notes. But here it goes. It's a reminder for all of you. And I am excited for this new journey of Season 3 in 2023. And for all of you, my listeners, I'll see you guys in the next episode.